Morning, Alec.
Good morning.
Welcome back.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here. All right, we're talking today about something called Keystone Habits, right?
Yes, so the concept behind a keystone habit is to identify the one habit that will have the biggest impact if you implement it in your life. So that's broadly speaking what a keystone habit is.
Yeah, and we've talked about this theme, I think, repetitively. About creating what in business terminology they would call positive reinforcement loops, but really it's just a ripple effect.
Yes.
And we've shown that spiritually that's true. We have evidence from it biblically that that's the way that God has built the system, if we could call it that. That psychologically that's true, and then physically, just through what you can't see neurologically, through what's being produced by your body, the hormones and the emotional feelings that gets built up by good habits. That this is what happens. We can have a domino effect, and it's about finding out, I guess, in this conversation, what is that big domino? What's
Yeah.
the one that you really want to tip first
Yes.
so that it has a positive effect? Because if you tip the wrong one, it might not touch the others for you.
Yeah, so I mean, if we're talking, for example, health and wellness, there are many factors that impact your health and wellness. For example, are you getting 8 hours of sleep? Are you breathing through your nose? Are you stressed? But we focus primarily on your spiritual nutrition and exercise, and they will most likely have the biggest impact in improving your health and wellness. And once those are the fundamentals are in place, then you're way more inclined to actually make the improvements either by default or on purpose in the other areas.
Yeah. And in each one of these areas, spiritual nutrition and exercise, like we've said now, there's a basic that if you can at least start with the basic, then the rest should follow suit.
Yeah, so if we go through them, spiritually, we're talking about having a quiet time, and spending time with the Lord and growing your relationship with the Lord. And that's something that you need to be doing on a daily basis. And if you are not making the time for it, then you might want to consider getting up earlier. And that is, for example, a key habit that you can implement that will have a ripple effect. You get up earlier, you're less hurried, you're less rushed, you have time to spend quietly with the Lord, get instruction out of the Word, and figure out how to apply that in your life. And then hopefully you also have time for exercise. I definitely believe in getting that in early. So, if you're not getting those in, the easiest place to make time for that is early in the morning. Get up earlier. And then the follow on question is, are you getting your 8 hours of sleep? And if the answer there is no, then you should be going to bed earlier. So, it's pretty consequential. And I've continually said that improving your health span is really simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah. We see in language this strange paradoxical thing that we have things that we call cliches, sayings that are so common that they almost lose value to us. In other words,
Mm.
when you hear a common cliche, you almost think to yourself, well, it's not true, but you forget that it became a cliche because of its truth, because of its inherent value. And you have this paradox because now you have things that are so true that people keep repeating them, and because people keep repeating them, we tend to not do them.
Yeah,
And this is the same
it's
with
like
good
cry
habits.
wolf.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So
So it's this 8 hours of sleep thing. Like, we all know it,
yeah,
but it's almost as if we forget the value of these
yeah. Well,
small nuggets.
I'm acutely aware of it, and I battle with it. I'm only getting 6 hours,
Tell me about it.
and I'm trying hard to figure out what I need to do to improve on my sleep. So it's not like we've got it all dialed in. We've got work to do. And I think the questions that fuel my personal passion is how can I best help people realize that it is within their control to improve their health span, regardless of their age and their personal history or their fallback excuses, if I can put it that way. And then why is it that 80% of the population of 40 plus year olds neglect to nurture and care for themselves? And then the final one is, what can I do to make a change and to change that, and to improve the situation? So, why do we want to bother with improving our health span? And that's the question that people need to look at and answer. And, for me, it's really simple. It's to love and serve the Lord your God is the first commandment. In order to do that, you must first love yourself so that you can love and be useful to others. And in so doing, you glorify the Lord. So it's straightforward, but you've got to apply the word in your life. So from my side, the starting point is applying the word in your life, and your priority is your quiet time.
The importance of putting a value on habits is so vital in the conversation, because one of the growing trends that we see these days is a sort of a doing away with the small habits for these mega experiences with God, which is nothing wrong. We should have deep encounters and experiences with God. But just because, you can have a lavish meal in the evening does not mean you start skipping breakfast every day. Well, unless you're fasting. But let's just use the analogy for what it is, because you understand that that's a fundamental part of starting your day. And in the same way, a church experience or a deep worship session does not replace the small moments that we spend with God, the starting our day well, a decision that we make when we wake up in the morning to say, God is first. Quiet time, like you've mentioned, just making sure we enter into His presence.
I look at it practically, and I mean, how efficient or how well would an athlete perform if they're only trained once a week for an hour?
Yeah.
And that's what church is. So you can't expect to grow spiritually if you are neglecting your quiet time with the Lord. And you need to apply the word in your life to get the growth. And if you do understand that you need to nurture and care for yourself as we are instructed in the word, then you've got your why sorted, and you can be so much more successful with any exercise program or nutrition.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to show again the power of these small changes, stepping off the spiritual side just for a moment, back to the sleep that we've mentioned. But I think the whole conversation this morning is about making people realize that that small decision that you can take today, it's about valuing it. I think we've chatted about this before, but I don't know if they had the statistics before me. When daylight saving time kicks in the United States, this has been reported for many years, and there's lots of science behind these tests. Hospitals spikes a 24% increase in heart attack visits the day after the clock gets moved. In other words, the day that the day becomes shorter, a 24% spike in heart attack visits, and the opposite when they move the clock 1 hour further. So that the night they get an hour less sleep, hospitals see a 24% spike in heart attack visits the next day. And the day they extend just an hour of sleep for people, they see a drop of 21% in heart attack visits that following day. Just shows you the incredible power of such a small change.
Yeah. So, if we start looking back at Keystone Habits, your morning routine to me is the key. And if you can make the effort to get up earlier, spend time with the Lord, and then off that base, you are in a really good place to plan the rest of your day and hopefully get your exercise in also. So, with exercise, as we've said, more is better. but you need to be getting in at least 3 or 4 cardio sessions, which again, cardio is things like walking, running, cycling, swimming, steady state, raising your heart rate. And you need to get in 2 to 3 sessions of strength training. And that is the minimum requirement to make a positive impact on your health span. And then just to reiterate that your exercise is there to change your body composition, to increase your muscle mass. It is not going to, on its own, cause you to lose weight. That happens in the kitchen. That happens with what you eat.
Yeah, with what you're taking in as well. All right, we're touching on 3 primary areas: spiritual, nutrition, exercise. We're talking keystone habits. What is this link that keeps all the other parts together, as Alex so well frames it on the show notes, which, by the way, will be available to you as well on the Almighty Warrior website. We'll give you all the details in just a bit as well. And again, here, when it comes to exercise, Alec, we see the science shows that an incredibly high amount of people are simply not doing that, just that little bit that's necessary.
Yeah, well, our lifestyles in general have made us become less and less physically active. And some people now are even working from home. So, there is less physical activity going on, and that means that we have to put in a more concerted effort to purposefully do something about becoming more physically active. I mean, I don't know very many ladies at all. I'm not picking on the ladies, men too, that actually put the effort into strength training. And the concept there is use it or lose it. So you either work and use your muscles, or they will degenerate through sarcopenia as you age. And the loss in muscle mass has a direct implication on your immune system. And then obviously you become frail, and you start losing your strength and mobility. Elderly people are prone to falling over and getting injured. And so we're trying to improve the quality of your life and extend the quality of your life.
This brings us back to one of the statements we've made in a previous show, Alec. It's simple but not easy. And we have to understand that this simplicity of instilling good habits takes a lot of self-discipline, and that's why it's not easy, because it's fighting against the flesh.
Yeah.
But we've been biblically commanded to do so. I think of Proverbs 23, verse 2, one of the verses that you've been talking about quite a lot. Put a knife to your throat if you possess a great appetite, meaning keep yourself from giving yourself over to gluttony. Put a knife to your throat if you're given to gluttony.
Yeah.
And we have to have self-discipline.
I'll use that as an example now in my own personal life. So there's 3 ways that you can control your nutrition. It's the quantity of what you eat, the quality of what you eat, and the frequency with which that you eat. So in my case, it's very easy for me to overeat and to eat too much quantity. So the easiest way for me to control my weight and my weight loss is to fast. And intermittent fasting and shortening the period in which I consume meals is, for me, the easiest way to actually improve my nutrition. So everybody is different, but fasting works really well in my case, and I'm sure that there's many other people that enjoy eating, and for me it's easier not to eat at all periodically, so I eat fewer meals because the quality of what I'm eating is good. So I've just got to eat less and less often.
And when we talk about these small changes, one of the great things about understanding that your life consists of these small habits is that failure then isn't fatal. In other words, if you do have a bad day, if you're living with daily habits, then a once-off doesn't sort of destroy you. But if you're putting all your chips, if you would like, in one bet, then if it goes wrong, everything goes wrong.
Yeah, so something comes along and upsets your routine. So in my case, I got COVID. During that period, I picked up quite a bit of weight because my whole routine went out the window. My appetite didn't, so I overate. And subsequently now, I'm getting back into action and I'm re-implementing the good habits that I had beforehand. So, over the last 2 weeks since we last spoke about this, I've managed to lose 3 kilos, and that's through reinstituting fasting. So, it is possible, but you've got to make a concerted effort. What else can I say about it? It's definitely not easy, but it's doable.
Some of the things in the notes for today, by the way, go to almightywarrior.me for all our show notes. It's available to you. Also, there are many ways that you can be a part of what also Alec is doing and putting on the table. It really great assistance you can get from Alec and his team in terms of making these changes. You also don't have to do it alone. You can have people that support you and that help you. And, people are always concerned, is it going to cost me money? Well, sometimes it's better that it does. There are some things that's worth investing in, because once you've invested in, and I'm not just talking about getting Alec on board, but that's one way. But when you invest, when it costs you something, you commit to it. Stuff that is free, we just don't commit to. But when we invest in something, when we say that this is valuable for me, I'm willing to exchange something of value for it, it also raises my level of commitment.
Yeah, one of the challenges we've got with a radio show is to keep things general and applicable to a wide audience. But you mustn't forget that you're an individual and that you've got personal circumstances that you need to take into account. Tailoring a solution to meet your specific goals and aspirations is what's often needed. But that support and that can come in various, you can get professional support and advice, but I recommend tackling something like this with a loved one, with a friend, and keep each other mutually accountable. And then when it does go wrong, don't be too hard on yourself. You just get back on it and get back at it. You're trying to move the average, not attain perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the notes today: you direct the change, instill the desired habit, then work on improving habits and routines that are key to victory, and be kind to yourself. Get right back at it. You can make a change right now. You can make a decision right now. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. You can get back at it right now. Patience and consistent effort counts in this case. And you took years to get into the shape you are now. Don't set unrealistic expectations for yourself when you're starting this journey. It's a daily struggle you can only work with today. Make a decision for today. Make today count. Okay, Keystone Habits, Alex, what we're talking about for those listeners that are just tuning in. We've touched on examples, maybe worth repeating. One spiritual example, one nutrition example, and one exercise example of something people can do today to make it practical.
Yeah, so, I think the goal setting and what I mean by that as well is that if you are successful with sticking to your nutrition plan for the day, or if you are successful in concluding your exercise for the day, celebrate it. Just make the goals small enough and achievable enough that you can actually celebrate achieving them, and that helps to instill the habits and the routines that we need in order to be consistent and over a long period of time see the change that we desire. So on the exercise front, it's really not difficult to go for a walk. Get outside and go for a walk. It doesn't even need to be daylight. Just go for a walk. That is the starting point. Then from there, you can put progressive challenges and slowly start maybe carrying a pack with some weight in it, start jogging a little bit, do a little bit of a jog, then a run, then a jog, then a run, And over time, you will start seeing the improvements coming through. But as we've said in specific episodes before, the strength training, resistance training is absolutely key. And there's a verse there that I've put down from Proverbs. I think, if I'm not incorrect, it's this 31:17.
Yeah, she sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task.
Yeah, so, there we've got no excuse. The Bible's telling the ladies they need strong arms.
Yeah.
So we're making fun of it and joking, but, the strength training is vitally important to ensure that you don't lose muscle mass. And the flip side to that is, if you are training, you need to make sure that you've got enough protein in your diet so that you can actually build and gain muscle mass.
And what a lot of the ladies especially, but men also finding out now, the science finally catching up to what lots of people knew many years ago, was that ultimately, if you do have some muscle mass, that is really the thing that assists in weight loss. And if you're trying to lose weight, it's not the cardio necessarily that's going to get rid of all that stubborn handles on the side. It's the muscle mass that helps you to do that.
Yeah, well, your exercise changes your body composition, and your fuel is your food. So your body is designed to change what you eat and drink into energy and to store it. So if you are overweight, if your height to waist ratio, so the circumference of your waist should be half your height or less. If that is the case, then you're in a good space. If your BMI is correct, then you're in a good space. So, that comes from your eating habits, not your exercise, because your body stores everything as energy for future use. And we've been into the whole insulin and how it works. We'll probably revisit that again in the not too distant future. But it's important that people don't get disillusioned by starting to exercise and then the weight doesn't just fall off.
All right, Keystone Habits, that's our conversation for today. Big thanks to Alec Avierinos joining me again. We'll do so again next week, Tuesday. Catch the full conversation, still available on our Facebook page after the show. Also, go and get the show notes. Visit almightywarrior.me. Thanks, Alec.
It's a pleasure.